As aventuras de um grupo de estrangeiros no Rio rendem gargalhadas e reflexões sobre a imagem da cidade e de seus moradores no filme Rio Sex Comedy, que estreia por aqui no ano que vem. Os atores Charlotte Rampling e Bill Pullman vieram ao Festival de Cinema do Rio para o lançamento do filme. Ela interpreta uma cirurgiã plástica inglesa, determinada a desencorajar qualquer um que queira se submeter a uma intervenção estética. Ele encarna um perturbado embaixador americano que foge de suas responsabilidades e vai se esconder na favela do Vidigal. Estes atores experientes e de trajetórias tão diversas participaram de uma espécie de cooperativa nesta produção. O filme foi feito com orçamento baixo, uma equipe de produção de apenas 10 pessoas e uma grande cooperação dos intérpretes na composição dos personagens, o que incluiu várias visitas ao Rio de Janeiro.
Speak English.
How was this preparation here in Rio?
I think we just had to look, listen, and wait for the city to bring things to us, because Rio has a real life of its own, and that's what we wanted in this film. We wanted Rio with its life.
And where did you go? What did you do in the city?
For the particular film that we're talking about, Rio Sex Comedy, I am a plastic surgeon, and so we went to a lot of the clinics, private clinics. We went to Santa Casa, where we also film. We met Ivo Pitangui and many other plastic surgeons to just try and investigate what do women want and men out of plastic surgery.
Fish, how do you get in here?
I have my ways.
You can't afford me.
I'm not here on a professional visit. I've been thinking a lot about what Irasema said, about falling in love with somebody else.
Not something you think about, it's something that happens.
We have to maintain a working government.
I want you to get the vice president, the whole cabinet, and the joint chiefs and take them to a secured location. I'm staying.
In the movie Independence Day, you are the president of the United States. And in this movie, you are the American ambassador. But you are not very qualified for this place. How did you get to be the American ambassador in Brazil?
Well, our idea was that, as often happens in America, ambassadors are appointed in one little window when Congress has a recess for one day, and they are allowed, and the administration is allowed to run through their appointments without having to go through the voting process with Congress. And this happened quite a bit during the Bush years, and this was kind of the idea that I arrive in Brazil because my family is in oil, and although I'm the black sheep and not at all part of the oil industry, they say, you're going to be the ambassador, and I think it's so ridiculous, I agreed to do it. I come here and realize it's too ridiculous, I can't do it. So that's when they say, no, 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 it's fine. And then I just start running away and disappear into a favela and begin a new life, fresh, clean slate.
That's the favela. It's a violent slum, sir.
You have a funny and interesting, speech when you say, this country deserves more. Why are our government sending somebody like me to such an important place? Do you feel that?
Well, I think, sometimes these political appointments can be very just convenient, and maybe most of the hard work is done by lower management people. But it was a very genuine place from me as a person, because I came to this movie very quickly before I had to start shooting. They had already shot Charlotte and Irene had shot most of their things by the time I was even asked to become part of it. So I had 4 days from the time I read it to when I got on the plane. And so it became part of my reality also, as well as the characters' reality. Say, I'm not prepared for this. I don't know the language. It's ridiculous. And yet I'm here. And now starts the adventure.
All right, look, I can't do this, all right? No, it's ridiculous. I'm not qualified for this. I have no qualifications. I have no business. It's a shame to the country. They deserve better.
Mr. Ambassador, cold feet at the start is natural.
Stop the car. Where do you have to be now?
Sorry, sir, this is right under the favela.
Stop the car.
Now para aquí. Paulo, now.
Because it was conceived by us, we decided that we would put as much of ourselves in it as we wanted to. Or if not, if we didn't want to, not. We could change our names too. One or two of the characters didn't have their own names. Or we could identify with us as people and then say, here I am, Charlotte, I'm not really a plastic surgeon, but I could be a plastic surgeon, so I'm going to pay a plastic surgeon and have fun with the idea of being something that you aren't really, play acting. And this film has given us, I think, all of us, the chance to work in a documentary system also, because a lot of the filming was done with real, I mean, for me, in Santa Casa, with real patients, with real people, with real doctors. Irene Jacob the same, Bill Pullman the same. And so it gave a chance to actually play with the reality in a way that you don't often have a chance to in our world. We're supposed to be actors, so what does an actor mean? An actor sort of sits beside himself, or does an actor actually join himself?
Charlotte, you are a living proof that a woman can be sexy after being 60 years old. Do you have any tips for Brazilian women? As Brazilian women are so much worried about being always well, what are your tips to be looking so sexy at your age?
And it's not only Brazilian women. All women are sort of wondering how it's going to go. I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know. But this film, I can't give tips because there are no tips. There are no tips about, or except perhaps not to worry about it, not to think about it, because you're going to get old anyway. It's going to happen anyway. So just keep enjoying life and keep, just keep imagining that you are what you were like, but don't change your face to show it. In a sense, don't operate on your face to pretend that you are what you were like, say, 20 years before. You can remain what you are like in your heart and your soul, but changing your face just gives yourself a mask. Whereas if you don't, you have the lines of, it's like a map.
Well, talking about reality in the movie and gringos, now we have some famous gringos here, like Bob, the Englishman from Tavares Bastos. You say, when he recognizes you and he says, you are the American ambassador, you say, and you must be the English one. That's sort of true.
Yeah.
How did a guy like that got into the movie?
Well, that's part of the unique creation of this piece with Jonathan Nossiter, who is an American, has lived in many different countries, married a Brazilian, Paula, who wanted to raise their children in Rio, coming to Rio, infiltrating himself with every aspect of the culture. I mean, it's a dazzling thing to realize how many people Jonathan knows and remembers so much about every one of them, from the lowest person to the highest person. And he treats them all with good respect. I mean, that was very good. I think this kind of project only would have been possible if Jonathan didn't appreciate Bob. Bob is an Englishman who came, an expat who came to Brazil and realized that he wanted to, in a way like my character, he wanted to get away from a very difficult English upbringing.
We have a lot of cliches, like the Indian girl, the beautiful favela girl.
But those are like those are almost like fables. They're characters out of a storytelling, you know, that they're the Indian princess that comes stepping out of the jungle. And only the wildest movie would accept that as a character.
And you got to be with her in the end.
Yes, yes.
But he stumbled,
Which is also a symbol.
into it completely unglamorously.
Yes, and I'm really there to service her needs to become part of the telenovela.
What do you both think? How would Brazilian public accept this movie?
Well, I think, you know, I think it would, if I think of about an American version of this, you know, that there would be a beautiful girl that comes out of the Wild West prairie, and that she really wants to do an internet show, and that she becomes, in a way, starts as a cliche and becomes something much more kind of surprisingly contemporary and real and something relatable. And I hope that's what Brazilians see with this story about all these people who have come here, and they come carrying all those things that could be cliches and you know, that are those things that everyone knows and can talk about freely, but then they become more and more specific. If you pay attention, their souls become revealed. And I always like the way Charlotte talks about the energy and rhythm of this movie. I think one thing that I was glad to see when I saw it all together is that every actor in this has a spirit that's bubbling. You know, I think there's some kind of crazy energy in it.
And each character is on a mission almost to tell a story in almost a mythological way, or a fable way, or a storytelling way, so that there's and it's told with great generosity and warmth. So there's nothing to be offended by in this film, even if people think, oh, well, would the Indians like to be seen like that? They're only shown like that because it's just an accepted way that people have of seeing things as immediately politically incorrect, whereas so often they aren't. So often they're actually lovely and very accessible. But you need to, if you go into a film like Rio Sex Comedy, you need to just leave all your judgments behind and just sit and accept the fact that this actually is basically a very what was it? I'm going to say a very beautiful story. It's not. Yes, it's a beautiful story, but it's told in it's told to wake you up a little bit.
And now, in your next movie, you are going to be the owner of the Playboy magazine with Lindsay Lohan. That's going to be Linda Lovelace.
This is a movie called Inferno, which is written and to be directed by Matthew Wilder. And I did a movie with him before called Your Name Here about Philip K. Dick. And this project has been in the pipes for a while. And Lindsay Lohan is a very interesting choice for a very difficult part. Linda Lovelace was a pornography star and lived a very troubled life and ended
as
in
Lindsay's living now somehow.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of identity, you know, with people that have been damaged, and then trying to, and so I think.
Would you like to be him? Like, that's the kind of challenge you'd like to do? Would you like to be him?
Yes, because I think he's so comfortable in his own skin. That's a very admirable thing. Hugh Hefner, yeah.
No, he's always gave me that impression. I even met him, God.
Have you spent time with him?
Not a lot of time. I was not a bunny girl.
And What are the three elements of being a body?
The room.
No, this. What do you have in mind?
You smell nice.
Yeah?
That aftershave, it just made my whole childhood come back with a sudden Proustian rush.
Yeah, that's because I'm wearing Proustian Rush by Chanel. It's reduced, so I got a vat of it.
So why don't I just run down and get some food?
Charlotte, your next movie, The Eye of the Storm, it's an Australian movie. And what is your character? What is going to be your character?
I'm the matriarch. It's from a very beautiful book by a Nobel Prize-winning Australian actor called Patrick White. And it's the very savage relations within a family in the 1970s Australia. And I play from the age of 55 to 75. And I have two children who are Geoffrey Rush and Judy Davis, who you might think are almost my age, but I look a little bit less whatever I look now. And that's acting, you see. You paint in a few lines and you're somebody else. No, it's hopefully a good piece, you see. You never know. You never know how films will come out. The shooting was amazing, but we'll see.
Some directors really build the actors. So if you could say just a little bit about Visconti and Françoise Ozon, how important were they to your career?
I think directors are very much the catalyst to who you perhaps don't even know you could become. Visconti very much was a catalyst and became a master because I just started in films and I was making a few films in England, and to go into Visconti's world, who at that time was a great master of cinema and theatre and opera, but we're talking about cinema, they allow you to expand in a way that you can't do alone, because an actor can't really grow on his own. He needs somebody to look at him, and somebody to encourage him, and somebody to sublimate him, and somebody to make him absolutely close to his dreams, let's say. And very much Visconti was that, and then Ozon was that same thing many years later, when we started to collaborate on a film called Under the Sand, which actually was here in Rio at the festival. I remember the first time I came to Rio was with Under the Sand with François Ozon. Yeah, and so Visconti being like a father figure at that time, and then I was the older woman. I was just in my early 50s with François, and François was like 32. So it was like, you know, a different mirror image of what you as an actor and a woman can give to your director. What mirror images you can give to each other.
What about you, Bill? Which were the most important directors, you know, for your career?
Well, you get so much from so many of them. You know, when I worked with David Lynch, I think I probably was aware of the way that a director could influence the energy of a set, and everyone who works on his movies is very excited to be there, and they want to join him with his spirit, and I think I always appreciated that those qualities. But you know, even someone like Mel Brooks, who is a genius at comedy, you know, and you watch how sometimes challenging those environments can be, and how challenging he can be to you as a person. While you're doing comedy, you would think everybody has to be friendly all the time, and he's a very warm-hearted guy, but he's also very contentious. And doing that process of that movie, I learned that that's all okay. It's all part of the process.
See? That was easy.
Yeah. Penny should open now, but we ought to get a box of 20 amps in the morning.
Oh. Right, yeah. 20 should be fine.
What is the difference now about the idea you have about Brazil and Rio after this experience?
So I don't see Rio sex comedy as being a cliche of Rio, because we really are talking about Rio and not talking about other places. Obviously in Brazil we're talking about Rio, which is very particular, like any city is particular within itself. It made me, I became more and more fascinated by this place, more and more fascinated by what this city could offer, what the city actually could bring up in me, and what I could give to it as well. There was and I think making Rio, we wanted Rio in the title because Rio is a part of this, so much a part of this film. Rio is one of, you know, well, how many main actors, I don't know how many actors, but I mean Rio certainly is one of the main parts.
What about you, Bill? What changed, in your opinion, about the city before and after?
Well, I think it was. It's like, you know something only from the cartoon of it. So, you know, Brazil is, and Rio is something that you get reinforced about a cartoon or stereotype or cliche or something. I'm going to Rio. Oh, be careful down there. Could get crazy. And that, as an actor, I would think that's a very positive image to have. So, but now that I'm here, I understand it's a troubling image to have. That it's some people in Rio wishes that weren't the case. Like, if, oh, I'm going to Rio. Oh, it's very hard to have a good time down there. They would prefer that, maybe. But I don't understand that, because I think to say you have a chance to go to a place that's very transformative, and you know, there's a lot of things going on there besides just sexual things and everything else. It's so incredible, the geography, to have these incredible mounds of rock piles high to the sky, right next to this most beautiful beaches. And you have this, and I did the whole delta wing flying, you know, over San Calvado, and just that picture of what a paradise it is. At the same time, it's a very complex city, is maybe a cliche, but it is what it is, and I'm really glad to know it better and better and better, you know. And I come back again, I'll learn more.
Thank you so much for this
you.
interview. Thank you.